Hello, I'm the real-life fake wizard. You know, people always ask me, Wizard, do you have any good news? Are you happy about anything? And today, my friends, I can confidently say, yeah, this is pretty good news. If things proceed accordingly and do not change, then yes, this is a win for you and me, the gamers, the buyers, the buying class. Outer Worlds 2 is shaping up to be a financial failure. And I hear you wondering, how is that good for the buying class? The Outer Worlds series is meant to be a negative commentary on capitalism, depicting a world of evil and greedy megacorporations that have colonized planets and created an exploitative dystopia. No matter which way you play the game, you will achieve one of 3 imperfect endings, none of which are purely happy for all parties, aligning with the game's themes of tough choices in a corporate dystopia. Well, that premise doesn't sound too bad, right? There are plenty of games that feature elements like that. That could be interesting. Maybe. Yeah, except the company behind this game, the company funding the creation of this, is Microsoft, the second richest company on planet Earth. Microsoft, the company that is cranking up the pressure on their gaming division to increase profit margins, just published a game filled with propaganda peddling anti-capitalist ideology. Ironic is the word that comes to my mind, but more so I think disgusting is the correct term to describe this. Because someone in here, someone involved, whether it be the creators at Obsidian or the executives at Xbox, someone in the know involved with this game thinks you're stupid. We are living in, objectively, one of the most difficult financial times, at least for most people. You could turn on any news channel at any time of day and they will tell you that the stock market is up or down by a couple of points and that people are doing just great. The economy is doing backflips, it's so happy. Except when you zoom in on what life looks like for most people, the cost of living continues to rise with no end in sight. The price of groceries continues to increase. Rent is up. And if you can't afford rent, buy a house. The analysts on TV keep saying that mortgage rates are flat, so now is the time to buy. Except, wait a minute, the price of housing continues to increase to astronomical levels, so even if the mortgage rates are flat, no one can afford to buy the overinflated garbage homes that are being thrown up with toothpicks and duct tape. Healthcare is up, car prices are up, energy is up, childcare is up, transportation is up. Even college tuition is up, which is pointless to invest in right now because even with a college education, you're not gonna find the job you were promised you would. With nearly, am I reading this right? 60% of recent graduates unable to find jobs? Gen Z can't enter the workforce. Millennials are trapped in jobs they hate, but are afraid to leave those jobs because they don't want to end up looking like Gen Z over here, locked out of the workforce. What happened to the $5 footlong? And so if all this wasn't bad enough, if life wasn't hard enough, which it is, we then turn to escapism as a means to turn our brains off for a moment and relax from the fact that the world we were promised as children was stolen from us. And what do you find? The Outer Worlds 2. Anti-capitalist propaganda from the richest company on the planet. Microsoft, one of the many companies responsible for the current economic climate we live in, is preaching to you about how bad megacorporations are. And they tried to charge $80 for this. Yeah, well, Microsoft can propaganda at these nuts. Hey, I have a Discord server and I would like for you to join it. It's free. Join my growing community of nerds who want to talk about games and movies and stuff. Go to fakewizard.com. Just don't be weird or creepy. Anyway, back to the video. I can already hear 2 types of detractors to a video like this. The first one being, but Wizard, the gameplay is pretty good in Outer Worlds 2. Right. Stephen A. Smith, can you reply to this, please?
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Jerry.
Oh, the gameplay is good? Yeah, well, I can find incredible gameplay in countless other games that were also released this year. Some of them for the purchase price of $19.99. I do not need to spend $70 to Microsoft to get good gameplay, especially when the context of that gameplay is peddling ideology propaganda. The second detractor says, Wizard, you're really coming down hard on this game. It's not Obsidian's fault. They said themselves they wish that everyone could play their games. The director said they're not responsible for the prices. Yeah, I can empathize with that. No, Brandon Adler, the game director, did not attempt to charge $80 for their capitalism is bad simulator. It was Xbox and Microsoft who did that. But to that point, I would have to say, go make another game. If you know that your corporate masters, the people that own you, are gonna slap a $70 or $80 price tag on your game and that you're gonna look bad when it flops, go make something else. Make something that's going to be worth a $70 price tag. Make something that's not going to be preaching your ideology, perhaps. This is Obsidian here. Aren't you the guys who made Knights of the Old Republic 2? A game that even in an incomplete state had some of the greatest narrative exploration of the Star Wars universe? Aren't you the guys that did Fallout New Vegas? People still rave about both of these games today, over 20 years later. For Knights 2. Don't tell me you don't have it in you to make video games worth the purchase price. But actually there is a third detractor here, and that's gonna be all of the people saying, Wizard, you said Outer Worlds 2 is a failure. Where are you getting that from? Isn't it a bit early to be claiming a win like that? Yeah, maybe. Maybe this game is gonna sell more billion copies, but the evidence, as of right now, looks very unlikely. See, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo are all parts of publicly traded companies. These companies have shareholders. When video games are released and sell 1, 2, or 3 million units early in the release window, we hear about it. They can't wait to tell us about it. These companies want everyone to know when their games sell millions of units because it indicates success of that title and aspirations of profitability. Nintendo did not hesitate to notify the world that they had sold 5.8 million units of Pokemon Legends ZA in the first week of release. Why is that? Well, because to move that many units that quickly is a massive show of strength for the IP, the company, and the amount of money being generated. Pokemon Legends ZA was done on a budget of $13.2 million when translated from Japanese yen to US dollars. They only needed to sell 200,000 units to break even. For them to sell 5.8 million copies in week 1 means that not only did they break even, but they also generated nearly $500 million in pure profits. And there's also Game Pass, right? And many other subscription services. And even then, Xbox loves to tell us when they have players engaged on Game Pass. Ubisoft was quick to post when they achieved 1 million players engaged when Assassin's Creed Shadows dropped. Atomfall announced 1.5 million players by the weekend of their game's release. Starfield, 1 million players on day 1, including Game Pass. Doom: The Dark Ages, 3 million players, including Game Pass. How many million players engaged did we have on The Outer Worlds 2? Oh, they didn't say. Yeah, there was no announcement. Xbox has not given any indication of players engaged or sales numbers for Outer Worlds 2. What else can we go by? Well, how about Steam numbers? Those are usually a good indicator of a game's success, even though certain gold standard analytics firms don't want you to believe so. Outer Worlds 2 clocks in with under 20,000 peak players in the first week of the game's launch. That is considerably low. Let's compare something else that launched in the same time frame as Outer Worlds 2. Arc Raiders is a competitive shooter that dropped on Steam for $40, and it hit a peak of 345,000 players already. Oh wait, I can hear you. You're not happy with that because Outer Worlds 2 is not a multiplayer game. Okay, well, Expedition 33 is a single-player story-focused game, and that hit 145,000 players peak on Steam. And Expedition 33 was also on Game Pass, so don't give me the, everyone is playing it on Game Pass, bro, they're not buying this game. No, it's more like, no one's playing this game at all. Seeing The Outer Worlds 2 fail is actually a good thing. It sends a series of signals around the world that you actually want to send. Firstly, price sensitivity is important. There are hundreds and hundreds of new games that have been released in 2025, many of which we may never experience ourselves, because we don't know that they're there. You can find incredible games for $20, $30, and $40 made by small teams or solo developers that just want to create incredible experiences. We don't need or want $70 games, especially when you can get comparable or better experiences for less money. It's a competitive marketplace. And shame on Xbox for creating pricing structures that, to me, just make no damn sense. here, let's analyze this together. We're going to role play as Xbox executives. Let's analyze the market. Nintendo is crushing it. They've still got exclusivity down pat. They took a beating on social media for the $80 games, but they've since rolled back to $70 games and sell $30 DLC bundles instead, getting their games above $80 and into $100 territories. There's more competition than ever before. Gamers want the best experiences and are willing to pay more to get it. If we look at Schedule 1, Silksong, and Expedition 33, in theory, Xbox could lower their prices and sell way more volume. Like if we're Xbox, can generate considerably more sales and overall profit if we lowered our prices. But wait a minute, we're Xbox again, and we've been told by Microsoft that we need to increase profit margin. Profit and profit margin are two different things. If we lowered prices, we could, and probably would, achieve more profit, but margin would decrease. So instead, we have to raise those prices to raise margins, but profits decline. This is how stupid corporate America is. Also, let's not forget, we're Xbox in this role play, and we have soul-bound ourselves to Game Pass. So no, we don't want to lower prices on games, we want to raise prices on games because that incentivizes people to sign up for Game Pass. Well, just like Netflix and Disney Plus, when we go exclusively to streaming and subscription models, a game or movie's success is not predicated on sales anymore. It's predicated on, did people play this game while paying for Game Pass? And also, did this game convince someone to enroll in Game Pass to play it? And all of this streaming nonsense leads to the bro science equivalent of corporate trust us bro metrics. Yes, we're still early out on knowing for a fact if this game failed or not, but why else would this game's failure be a good thing if it did? Because they tried to charge $80 for it. In June of 2025, Xbox had one of their showcase events, ending with a big demonstration for Outer Worlds 2. At the end of this, there was no price tag. Nothing. They didn't have the balls to tell us to our faces what the price of the game was going to be, or that they planned on making this an $80 game. But on the same day as that showcase, the pre-orders for the game went live, and we all found out that they pulled a Nintendo Switch 2 on us, not telling us the price in the showcase, but instead waiting for the prices to be published online for pre-order. Followed by that, Xbox made a statement that they were going to be moving a lot of their first-party games up to $80 by the end of 2025, with Outer Worlds 2 being the first. All upcoming games would now be $80. But by the end of July 2025, they had to roll this plan back because the online backlash was so bad, and what we believe can be seen in these Steam numbers must have been ridiculously low pre-order sales. Yeah, Xbox failed to get their games to $80, and I've made a case as to why I believe they should actually lower prices. But this company will not stop until they can achieve their $80, $90, $100 price tag for all games. Firstly, so they satisfy their corporate overlords and increase the margin value, but also so they can make Game Pass the be-all, end-all position of the market share that Xbox has in gaming. You may say this is a good thing. Like, even at $30, this is a deal. Game Pass is a steal. It's a Faustian bargain. If Game Pass is the only way to afford games, they'll increase the price even further because they're the only place in town to get those games. But we talked a lot here, and something clearly obvious keeps striking me because we still haven't talked about the consumerism debuff that the $100 premium edition of Outer Worlds 2 buyers were cursed with. Yeah, they insult you if you bought the $100 edition. You receive a debuff to your in-game characters if you bought it. We also haven't talked about the poor performance on computers, or the fact that this game's FPS drops makes the game unplayable. We haven't talked about how the art style is, I don't even see one. This is an Obsidian flaw in 2025, it seems. Both Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 have this soft, uncanny valley Polar Express face on all of the characters. But overall, I think the biggest takeaway from this situation is that Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, if they made good games, people would buy them. And sure, maybe Nintendo is delivering on that to my chagrin. But Xbox isn't. PlayStation isn't. Of all the games released this year, there's not any worth the purchase price of admission for Xbox games. They're not even worth getting Game Pass for. And they're certainly not worth $80. The Outer Worlds 2 is not a commentary on megacorporations like it thinks it is. Or perhaps in the way that the developers had intended, it's not. I played the first game on launch day. I got it because they said it was Fallout New Vegas in space, and no, I personally do not see this franchise as the satire on capitalism they claim it is. I see it as a commentary on you. Corporations can only get this evil and goofy and powerful if you keep feeding them your time and money. Xbox only remains as powerful for as long as you buy their goods. Same for PlayStation, Nintendo, all of them, everything, all companies, not just in gaming. By continuing to buy goods and services that you do not need, and with money you do not have, you are enabling them to continue getting stronger and stronger. The correction to this flawed system is not to topple the whole system. It's not to install some kind of Marxist regime like so many think it is. It's not even to do anything. If you consciously stop buying from the companies that hate you, you will win. Tell your family, tell your friends. You can bring prices down when you stop buying their crap. At the beginning of this video, I made a lot of points about all the things that are getting out of reach in affordability. Food, energy, housing, education, everything essential is getting more and more expensive. Companies are not doing this because of inflation, though many people will try to tell you that they are. They're doing this because the richest assholes on the planet can only get richer if they find ways to raise profits over and over and over. And to do that, they're going to keep raising prices. And if that's not depressing enough, the people selling you escapism from the black-pilled nightmare we're living in think they can preach down to you about some bullshit Marxist utopia while holding an iPhone in one hand and an $8 Starbucks drink in the other as well, participating in the same consumerism that they themselves mock their own customers for. It's more than just Outer Worlds 2 here. We see this constantly in entertainment now. Hypocritical, know-it-all, Reddit-brained elitists who think they have the right to tell you what to think and how to feel. And they're the same people preaching about unregulated capitalism. Yeah, bro, you're the buyers. Capitalism is a two-sided relationship. You're the one who can regulate it. It stops when you say it stops. These companies built their fortresses thinking they are unbreakable, but your voice and your trumpets can topple Jericho. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. Have you seen this ESPN thing? This is insane. Cancel that Disney Plus subscription. Stick it to these bastards. I'll see you next time. Be well.